You are listening to PastThink.com audiobook. Please like and subscribe, thank you. Chapter 85. Xuande dies, leaving his son in the care of Kong Ming. Kong Ming disarms 5 armies. It is in the summer of AD 222, when Lu Xun defeats the armies of the Shu. When Ma Liang arrives at Baidi, he is greatly upset to find the first ruler in refuge there. "This was my fault," he says, but the first ruler replies, "Had I but listened to Kong Ming, none of this would have happened. How can I return to Chengdu after such a disastrous failure?" Instead of returning, he elevates the status of his quarters in Baidi, and officially announces that they are to be known henceforth as the Palace of Eternal Peace. News is brought that Huang Quan has deserted to the Wei, and advisors recommend the execution of his entire clan. But the first ruler knows that Huang Quan simply had no other option, as he was cut off from the rest of the army. "If anyone betrayed anyone," says the first ruler, "it was I who betrayed him." Needless to say, Cao Pai is delighted to have Huang Quan brought before him, and he offers him both position and authority. But he declines. "The first ruler of Shu has always been generous to me, beyond anything I could have expected. That is why I was in charge of the forces to the north of the river. Then Lu Xun cut me off. I could not retreat to Shu and will not surrender to Wu. So that is why I am here. If you will spare my life, that will be enough. But I cannot serve you." Cao Pai is moved by this, but, despite many offers of a senior command, Huang Quan cannot be persuaded to accept. Cao Pai himself is now determined to press home what he sees as his advantage by attacking the Wu, while they rest on their laurels after defeating Xuande. This is despite the ardent advice of Jia Su and Lu Yi to hold back. But Cao Pai chooses to ignore them, so sure is he of his own ability. With 3 armies already on the southern border, Cao Pai sets out to strengthen them. On the Wei side the armies are commanded by Cao Xiu, Cao Zhen and Cao Ren. Opposite them the Wu place Lu Fan, Zhu Gejin, and the youthful Zhu Huan. None of this deters Cao Pai. But it should. Cao Pai has underestimated the skilled commanders facing his men. An attack by Cao Ren on Xianxi is skillfully defeated by Zhu Huan despite his youth, he is only 27. He easily traps the advance party led by Chong Diao, whom he personally slays on the battlefield, then trounces Cao Ren's own troop, seizing vast quantities of arms, horses and provisions. No sooner has Cao Ren reported this to the Wei ruler than news also comes of the defeat of Cao Zhen, who was besieging Nanjun. He has been crushed between an attack from within led by Lu Xun and one from outside by Zhu Gejin. On top of this comes news that Cao Xiu has been defeated by Lu Fan. To add to the misery, as it is the height of summer, plague breaks out among his troops, and 3/4 of the men collapse and die. Defeated and disillusioned, wishing he had listened to Jia Su and Lu Yi, Cao Pai retreats back to Luoyang to lick his wounds. Back at Baidi, in the confines of his Palace of Eternal Peace, the first ruler's strength declines rapidly, and he takes to his bed. It is the late spring of AD 223. Xuande knows that he is dying. The shock of what has happened to his 2 brothers has sapped his energy. He is no longer strong enough in body or mind to withstand sickness. One night he lies awake, alone in his room. There are no attendants around him, for he has dismissed them. Suddenly he feels a cold wind moving through the room, making his candles gutter and then flare. In their light he sees 2 men and, upset at being disturbed, the first ruler says, "I told you not to disturb me. Why are you here?" But the 2 men do not even move. Rising, the first ruler realizes to his astonishment that they are Guan Yu and Zhang Fei. "Ah," he cries. "You are alive." "No, we are no longer men," replies Guan Yu. "We are ghosts. The Supreme Lord knows that in our lives we remained faithful to our vow, and as a result he has made us gods. Elder brother, you should know that soon we 3 shall be united once again." Stretching forth his hands to touch them, the first ruler jerks awake, and the ghosts disappear. Calling for his servants, he tells them that he has not long to live, and that they must bring Kong Ming from Chengdu to see him immediately. As soon as they can, Kong Ming, the first ruler's younger sons Lu Yong, king of Lu, and Lu Li, king of Liang, arrive. Left behind to hold Chengdu is the heir apparent, Lu Shan. Speaking in confidence to Kong Ming, the first ruler says, "You brought me success. So how could I have been such a fool as to ignore your advice and so bring this disaster upon us? I am dying. My heir, he's too weak to rule, so you must take over responsibility. That's why I place the kingdom into your hands." Kong Ming tries to persuade the first ruler that there is hope he might recover, but the first ruler knows this is not so. He warns Kong Ming about Ma Su, the younger brother of Ma Liang. "What do you think of him?" asks the first ruler. "I think he is one of our best men," replies Kong Ming. "Wrong," says the first ruler. "He is all hot air and nothing else. Don't promote him under any circumstances." Then he dictates his last will and testament, officially handing responsibility for its execution to Kong Ming as his prime minister. "We did our best to rid the world of that traitor Chow," says the first ruler, "and, in so doing, support the House of Han. I leave now with this still to be finished, not even halfway there to be honest. To you, Prime Minister, I entrust my heir. Teach him well. I am relying upon you for that." Kong Ming is overcome with grief, and his eyes fill with tears. The first ruler speaks again to Kong Ming. "I'm about to die," he says, "and if my heir is unable to fulfill his duties and protect the kingdom, then you must take over. You must become the king instead." Kong Ming is distraught and weeps, prostrating himself many times upon the floor. Then the first ruler summons Lu Yong and Lu Li to come to his bedside, and he commands them to serve Kong Ming as they would serve their own father. Calling all his officials to him, he says the same thing to them, commanding them to support Kong Ming. Turning to his old comrade in arms Zhao Zilong, he says, "We've survived a lot, you and I. I didn't think it would end like this. For the sake of our friendship, watch over my sons and honor what I have asked." Zhao Zilong, weeping, promises to do exactly that. Finally, he turns to all those assembled there and says, "There are too many of you for me to speak personally to each of you, but I wish you all well. Look after yourselves and ensure you act in full accord with that which is best in you." He never speaks again. He is 63 years old when he dies in the spring of AD 223. Du Fu wrote this poem in his honor. The Shu king covets the Wu lands beyond the Three Gorges. But in 2 years he's dying in the palace of eternal peace. His kingly thoughts reached beyond the mountains. There were no salubrious rooms in this humble temple. Ancient pines nearby his shrine house herons. At certain times old people wander by at their ease. His chief advisor's temple is just nearby. Both are sacred, both men idolized. Xuanda's body is carried back to Chengdu. There, the formal rituals of mourning and of enthroning the new emperor, his son Lu Shan, as the second ruler take place so the Han lineage can continue without a break. Xuanda is named as August Emperor Zhao Lai, meaning reflected glory, and he is buried at Huiling. When Chao Pai hears of Xuanda's death, he immediately wants to attack Shu to take advantage of the chaos such a death causes. Jiasu warns him not to be too precipitous, but suddenly a voice rings out, "We will never have such an opportunity again." It is Sima Yi. When asked what he thinks should be done, Sima Yi suggests the following. "We need 5 armies to vanquish Shu. That way there will be too many fronts on which Kong Ming will have to fight. The first army we recruit from the East Liao region by bribing their king with gifts of gold and silk to send 100,000 tribesmen to seize the Shiping Pass. The second by recruiting from the Man people, requesting 100,000 men from south of Shu. The third from Wu, by offering land to Sun Quan in return for another 100,000, and for them to attack the Three Gorges and Fuching. The fourth to come from Mengda, who has of course just surrendered to us. He is to attack to the west near Guanzhong. And that is where the final 100,000 army, our regular army under Chao Zhen, will be. The plan is for them to move out from Jingzhou through the Yongping Pass, into Shu. Qiao Pai immediately agrees, and messengers are dispatched straight away. When reports come into the second ruler of the 5 armies being mobilized, to say he is alarmed would be an understatement. Sending messengers to summon Kong Ming, he is surprised and frankly alarmed to hear that Kong Ming is too ill to obey. The next day, more senior officials are sent to ask Kong Ming to attend, and the second ruler's anxieties rise even higher when again he is informed that Kong Ming is too ill to attend. On the third day, officials wait all day in anticipation of the appearance of the Prime Minister, but to no avail. This is why the second ruler himself has eventually to go to see Kong Ming. Finding Kong Ming standing leaning on a walking stick and looking into a fish pond, the second ruler surprises him, and he turns and apologizes profusely. When the second ruler chastises him gently for not helping him, when the situation is so critical, Kong Ming smiles and says, "I know all about these 5 armies. But don't worry about them. I've sorted it all out already." He then tells the second ruler how, knowing where attacks will come and from whom, he has forestalled Qiao Pai by getting in first. To the king of the Chong he has sent Ma Chao, whom the tribes believe is blessed by heaven itself, and with Ma Chao holding the Shiping Pass, no Chong man will dare attack. For the man troops, a simple policy of having the army opposite moving about all the time has reduced these brave but simple folk to confusion, so they won't attack. Using trickery, I have fooled Meng De into believing that his friend Li Yan has asked him to pretend to be too ill to come to Qiao Pai's assistance. He is sorted out. As for Qiao Jin, Zhao Zilong is already there at my request, and can easily defend the Yongping Pass. To add to this, I have sent Zhang Bao and Guanzhong with 30,000 troops apiece to help ensure that the pass is safe. As for the army of Wu, they're not going to attack if there are no others already engaged. But I need someone to go and persuade Sun Quan that his best interests lie with us. He hasn't forgotten what Qiao Pai tried to do. A mightily relieved second ruler leaves Kong Ming. As he goes, Kong Ming notices one official, Deng Ji, who seems to be amused. Kong Ming stops him leaving and invites him into his inner chamber. "We now have 3 kingdoms," says Kong Ming, Shu, Wei and Wu. "My plan is to restore the Han dynasty by subduing both of the other kingdoms. Which one should I attack first?" To this Deng Ji replies, "Wei's too strong at present. Our new ruler is young, and no one is yet sure about him. So let's not rush. Instead, let us mend fences with Wu and combine our efforts. After all, we no longer have to worry about the late ruler's quest for revenge. In the long run this will be to our advantage." Kong Ming is delighted and asks Deng Ji if he is willing to go to Wu. Although he protests that he is not very experienced in such affairs, he is persuaded, and the next day accepts the mission from the second ruler. Will this work? We can find out.